How do we get from one-hand voicings to richer, full-sounding two-hand voicings? In this video, I'd like to show you a simple strategy to do just that. So, you might be familiar with the typical close-position rootless voicings for seventh chords that were popularized by jazz pianist Bill Evans in the 1950s and that everybody has been using ever since. They're awesome and they sound like this. The most common ones have either the third of the chord at the bottom, these are often referred to as A voicings, or the seventh, these are then called B voicings. If you're not that familiar with these voicings yet, I made a whole video on them which I'll link to in the description below. Now, what would happen if I played both an A voicing and a B voicing at the same time? You may have noticed that they overlap in the middle. The top two notes of the A voicing are the same as the bottom two notes of the B voicing. Obviously, for this I need both hands. I usually play the top four notes with my right hand and the bottom two with my left. Or you can do 3 and 3, whatever feels better to you. What I'm using here is a framework I always try to use when I want to learn something new, which is, can I look at the new thing as a variation or combination of things I already know? In this case, if I already know close position 4-note voicings, I can just play two of them at the same time to get a new type of two-hand voicing with 6 notes, rather than having to learn a whole new set of those 6-note voicings from scratch. I call these overlap voicings. That's not an official name or anything. I just find that naming things for myself makes it easier to conceptualize and remember them. Now, let me show you an example of this type of voicing for each of the main 7th chord qualities. Here's an A voicing for C major 7. Here's a B voicing for C major 7. And here's the overlap voicing that's created by combining both of them. Here's an A voicing for D7. Here's a B voicing for D7. And here's the overlap voicing that's created by combining both of them. Here's a B voicing for G7 altered. Here's an A voicing for G7 altered. And here's the overlap voicing that's created by combining both of them. Notice that sometimes the A voicing is the lower one and sometimes it's the B voicing. It depends on where they fall range-wise. You generally want them in the vicinity of middle C. Here's a B voicing for F sharp minor 6. Here's an A voicing for F sharp minor 6. And here's the overlap voicing that's created by combining both of them. A quick note on minor 7 flat 5 chords. For reasons I won't bore you with, I consider voicings that have the root at the bottom to be A voicings in this case, and ones that have the flat 5 at the bottom, B voicings. Here's an A voicing for E minor 7 flat 5. Here's a B voicing for E minor 7 flat 5. And here's the overlap voicing that's created by combining both of them. So all this is great, but there's a few variations I want to show you that make this type of voicing even more powerful. The first thing we can do is use certain substitutions to increase complexity. This applies specifically to notes that happen twice in a voicing. For example, combining this A voicing for D flat major 7 with this B voicing gives us this overlap voicing. Notice that the 5th A flat happens twice here. If we replace one of them with the 6th B flat, we get a hipper version of the voicing. Similarly, if we combine this B voicing for G minor 6 with this A voicing, we get this overlap voicing. The 6th E happens twice. If we replace one of them with the major seventh, we get this. Here are two ways to modify an altered dominant chord to make it more interesting. Here's a B voicing for A7 altered. If we combine it with this A voicing, we get this overlap voicing. The sharp 9, B sharp, happens twice, so we can replace one of them with flat 9, for example. Another option would be to replace one of the G's, the 7th, with the root, which gives us this. Here's one more example. If we combine this A voicing for D minor 7 flat 5 with this B voicing, we get this. Instead of playing the 11 G twice, we can replace one of them with the third F. As you can see, there's plenty of opportunity to take the basic idea and play with it to come up with a variety of voicings for our arsenal. Here's one more idea to experiment with. So far, we've mostly looked at 4-note voicings that had the 3rd or 7th at the bottom. But we can also apply the same principle to other inversions. Here's an example. If we take this A voicing for C sharp minor 7 and invert it up, we get this. Similarly, if we take this B voicing and invert it up, we get this. If we now combine these two inverted voicings into an overlap voicing, we get this. And finally, to give you an idea of how all this sounds in practical application, here's me comping on a chorus of the jazz standard Solar using these overlap voicings exclusively. Hopefully this inspires you to get creative and add to your own repertoire of jazz voicings. One of the main takeaways here is to take a single concept, like take two one-hand voicings and combine them into a two-hand voicing, and then play with it. Find different variations, apply it to different chord types, and so on. And that's it for today. Check out the video I did on 4-note voicings if you feel so inspired. And if you've enjoyed the video, consider subscribing, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.